together, then they produce 3 offspring, 4, 5, and 6. 5 and 6 are girls or boys? 5 and 6 are girls or boys? 5 and 6 are girls. Whereas
Girls.
4 is a boy. ठीक है, 4 क्या है आपका? Boy. ठीक है. Now, and all of them were normal. Mother was having a nail patella syndrome. Father is normal. Father was normal, and they have 3 kids, and all of these 3 kids were normal. Now, when this 6 and 7 they married together, then they produced 2 offspring, 8 and 9. And when 4 and 3 they married together, then they don't produce any offspring. Okay, is this clear to all of you? Okay, is this family tree clear to all of you? Now question.
Yes.
After looking at this family tree, tell me whether this NPS, that is this condition, nail patella syndrome, is controlled by a dominant or recessive allele. Whether this NPS is controlled by a dominant or recessive allele. After looking at this whole family tree, from where you could get the confirmation that this NPS is controlled by a dominant or a recessive allele.
वे सब सारी फैमिली ट्री में जो है किसी के पास नहीं है except for the last one जो 8 पर है.
Except for the last one. So how you are going to give the answer? So what is, either NPS is controlled by a dominant or recessive one? What do you think?
Dominant.
NPS is controlled. If it was controlled by a dominant allele, then it should be present in each and every offspring. Don't you think? If it was controlled by a dominant allele, then don't you think that it should be present in each and every offspring? Because the dominant one is able to express itself in each generation, either in homozygous condition or heterozygous condition. If it was controlled by a dominant allele, that is capital N, let's suppose NPS is controlled by a
दोनों के
dominant
पास नहीं है ना.
किन दोनों के पास
डोमिनेंट है. देखिए
किन दोनों के
जो
पास
डार्क सर्कल है वो है वुमेन विद अच्छा वुमेन विद एनपीएस सॉरी
women with NPS. Fine. Now tell me whether it is controlled by a dominant allele or a recessive allele.
रिसेसिव allele.
ठीक है. Dark circle means women with NPS. Blank circle means or unshaded one means men or women without NPS. Fine. Now tell me whether it is controlled by a recessive allele or a dominant allele. It is controlled by Hafsa.
Recessive.
It is controlled by recessive allele. Now next question. So it is controlled by recessive allele. Just write it down. It is controlled by recessive allele. Now 2. Explain which evidence from the family tree confirm your answer to 1. How could you say that it is controlled by recessive allele? How could you say that it is controlled by recessive allele?
क्योंकि पूरे फैमिली ट्री में बस एक एंड के ही अंदर है वुमेन विद एनपीएस बाकी सारे विदाउट है.
Okay. So is this the sure answer that it is controlled by recessive allele? For example, if IA is crossed with another IA parent, and they are having 3 kids, and all of them are having O blood group, then what could you say? O is a recessive allele. Even then it will not
ग्रुप में तो होगा ना. नहीं उनके जीन में तो होगी लेकिन क्योंकि मदर के पास था.
तो फिर how could you say that it's a recessive allele? How could you say that it's a recessive? Sure answer दो. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. Because number of NPS offsprings are very low, that's why it is controlled by a recessive allele. Fine, but it's not a right way to give the answer. It's not a confirmed answer. It's not a 100% answer. How can you say it for sure that yes, it's a recessive allele? Because I can see this, I can see this, I can see that. How could you reach the answer? Parent is having NPS, that is one of their parent is having NPS, but none of their offspring is having NPS. That's why it is a recessive allele. Is this the correct answer? Is this the correct answer?
ऑब्वियसली टर्म्स तो लगेंगी ना कुछ, अब इतनी अच्छी बात थोड़ी है कि टर्म्स भी याद रहे नया चैप्टर पढ़ने के बाद।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, मैं तुमसे कोई क्वेश्चन कर रही हूँ। The parent is having NPS, but none of their offspring 4, 5 and 6 is having NPS. इसमें कौन सी टर्म लगी है? None of their parents,
Yes.
none of their offspring 4, 5 and 6 are having NPS. That means it is controlled by recessive allele. यहाँ से आपको शॉर्ट आंसर मिल रहा है। मे बी मैं ये कह रही हूँ कि 4, 5, 6 के पास एनपीएस नहीं है, मगर उनके पेरेंट के पास एनपीएस था। ये शो करता है कि एनपीएस वॉज कंट्रोल्ड बाय अ रिसेसिव allele. Is it a confirmed answer? No, it's not a confirmed answer because maybe their next kid will be having NPS. है ना? ये तो ऑब्जर्व रेशो है ना? दिस इज एन ऑब्जर्व रेशो, और ऑब्जर्व रेशो आपकी वेरी करती है ना? समझ में आ गई? आपकी ऑब्जर्व रेशो वेरी करती है। ये वो रेशो है जो कि हमें अपेरेंटली नजर आती है। इट्स नॉट अ जेनेटिक
मिस
रेशो। ये जेनेटिक,
आपकी वॉइस
हाँ,
बहुत अनक्लियर आ रही है, मोटी मोटी सी।
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा, अब क्लियर है? मोटी
हाँ
मोटी
लेकिन
सी मैं
है
कैसे,
वैसी मोटी मोटी सी।
कैसे गई? अब ठीक है।
हाँ
मेरा
सुनाई तो
माइंड
दी,
पॉइंट,
बहुत मोटी मोटी आ रही है।
अब मैं क्या करूँ, मोटी मोटी आ रही है। मैं रिकॉर्डिंग सुनेंगे तो मुझे पता चलेगा कितनी मोटी मोटी आ रही है। अच्छा, अब आवाज आ रही है मुझे कि नहीं? अब मोटी आ रही है, पतली आ रही है, लीव इट। आवाज आ
आ
रही है कि
रही है।
नहीं? ठीक है, फाइन। नाउ टेल मी, Anusha said that NPS is, after looking at this family tree, we can confirm that NPS is controlled by a recessive allele. Now explain which evidence from the family tree confirm your answer. Which evidence from the family tree, Sidra, turn off your mic, please. Which evidence from the family tree confirm your answer? Which evidence from the family tree confirm your answer? देखो, जो confirm
एक
answer है,
जनरेशन के
कोई,
बाद एक एक जनरेशन के बाद एक के पास आता है
हाँ, ओके, तो
तो
एक के पास आता है, और
उससे मैं क्या
हाँ,
बताऊं, तो के आगे आप कंप्लीट करें ना।
नहीं नहीं, मैं नहीं कंप्लीट करूंगी, आप ही कंप्लीट करेंगे। चाइल्ड
दूसरी
एट इज
जनरेशन के
शोइंग,
बाद भी आ सकता है।
नहीं 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 नहीं, इधर गौर से सुनो।
तो उसके बाद
चाइल्ड,
वाली जनरेशन में नहीं आएगा।
नहीं, ये क्या बात है, इसमें सुनो, चुप करके सुनो। Why it was controlled by recessive allele? Child 8 is showing NPS, but none of their parent is showing NPS, है ना? Child
जी
8 तो NPS शो कर रहा है, but none of its parent is showing NPS. That means both 6 and 7 were the carrier of NPS allele, but they are not expressing it in their phenotype, है ना? और हम किसको phenotype में नहीं एक्सप्रेस करते? तो which allele we are not expressing in our phenotype? किस allele को अपने phenotype में हम एक्सप्रेस नहीं करते? The allele
विद
which is,
एमपीएस।
the allele which is,
नो, नॉट,
रिसेसिव।
yeah, the allele which is recessive. ठीक है, वो allele जो recessive होता है उसी को हम अपनी नेक्स्ट जनरेशन में वो एक्सप्रेस नहीं करता अपने आप को फिनोटाइप में। ठीक है, so that means 6 and 7 दोनों क्या थे? both of them were what? homozygous dominant और hybrid? 6 and 7 क्या थे? both 6 and 7 were hybrid. That means they are having NPS allele, but none of them are showing NPS. ठीक है, whereas their offspring is having NPS, offspring 8 is having NPS. It shows that, बिल्कुल कंफर्म करता है ये कि child 8 is showing NPS, but none of their parents 6 and 7 is showing NPS. That means both of them were the carrier of recessive allele. रिसेसिव allele था तो उनके पास, और रिसेसिव allele अपने आप एक्सप्रेस ही नहीं करता। यहाँ पर अगर हम देखें कि पेरेंट 1 के पास एनपीएस था, मगर नन ऑफ देयर ऑफस्प्रिंग इज हैविंग एनपीएस, उसकी ऑफस्प्रिंग के पास किसी के पास भी एनपीएस नहीं था। तो यहाँ पे भी हमें क्लू मिलता है कि इट्स अ रिसेसिव allele, बट स्टिल इट इज नॉट अ कंफर्म आंसर। व्हाई इट इज नॉट अ कंफर्म आंसर? बिकॉज मे बी इनका जो फोर्थ ऑफस्प्रिंग है उसके पास एनपीएस आ जाए, है ना? बात समझ में आ रही है? आर यू गेटिंग मी और नॉट?
यस।
ठीक है, तो इसका
नहीं, उससे
कंफर्मेशन
तो
हमें
उससे
कहाँ से?
ऊपर वाला आंसर कैसे कंफर्म होता है कि रिसेसिव एलील डोमिनेट कर रही है।
नहीं नहीं, वो ये तो नहीं कह रहा कि ऊपर वाले को कंफर्म करो और नीचे वाले को कंफर्म करो। वो तो कह रहे हैं पूरे, आफ्टर लुकिंग एट द होल फैमिली ट्री कंफर्म योर आंसर, एक्सप्लेन योर आंसर। ठीक है, पूरे फैमिली ट्री को देख के बताओ अपना आंसर। यहाँ पर भी हमें क्लू मिल रहा है, यहाँ सिर्फ हमें क्लू मिल रहा है, बट इट्स नॉट मैंडेटरी। मे बी इनका आखिरी ऑफस्प्रिंग जो है, हम ये कह दें, अगर लेट्स सपोज मैं ये कह दूं, मैं एक ऐसा बच्चा हूँ जो मुझे को ये समझ में आ रही है कि पेरेंट इज शोइंग एनपीएस बट नन ऑफ देयर ऑफस्प्रिंग इज शोइंग एनपीएस, दैट मीन्स एनपीएस इज कंट्रोल्ड बाय अ रिसेसिव एलील। ठीक है, अगर यहाँ पे श्योरिटी तो नहीं है, मे बी इनका चौथा ऑफस्प्रिंग के पास एनपीएस आ जाए। शॉर्ट आंसर हमें कहाँ मिल रहा है? इस रीजन पे, इन दिस ट्री, in this region. Now what happened in this region? Child 8 is showing NPS, but none of its parent is showing NPS. Either 6 and 7. They are not showing it. But there must be recessive allele in both the parents. That's why this child is showing NPS. अगर यहाँ पर recessive allele नहीं होता तो कभी भी 8 आपके पास NPS शो नहीं कर सकता था। ठीक है? That means the recessive allele was present in both 6 and 7, but they failed to express it. That's why recessive allele, NPS is controlled by, or NPS is a recessive allele. ठीक है? So write down its answer. How we are going to frame the answer? हम कैसे frame करेंगे आंसर? कि child 8 is showing NPS, but none of its parent is showing NPS. 6 and 7 are showing NPS, though they both of them are the carrier of recessive allele. That means NPS is controlled by a recessive allele. Is this clear to all of you? समझ में आई सिद्रा एंड अनुषा एंड हफ्सा?
यस मिस,
Clear?
पूरा
हाँ
क्वेश्चन लिख
बोलो।
के या आंसर लिखें या सिर्फ आंसर लिखते हैं?
नहीं, आप वहां पे लिख देना पेज नंबर दिस एंड दिस, क्वेश्चन नंबर दिस एंड दिस, एंड स्टार्ट गिविंग आंसर. ओके,
ओके
fine. Okay, so what is the answer to this question? Please do it in your journal. Child 8 is showing NPS, but none of its parent is showing NPS. None of its parents 6 and 7 is showing NPS. That means both of them were the carrier of recessive allele. ठीक है, दोनों कैरियर तो थे, कैरियर मतलब हाइब्रिड फॉर्म में तो था इनके पास recessive allele, but they are not able to, NPS is not able to express itself in their parent. ठीक है, समझ में आ गई? NPS is not able to express itself in the parent. That means both of them were the carrier, but it is not able to express itself in 6 and 7. That means NPS is controlled by a recessive allele. ठीक है, डन? आगे चलें?
नहीं, मैं सेकंड लिख रही हूँ।
ठीक है. So what's the answer? Child 8 is showing NPS, but none of its parents 6 and 7 is showing NPS. That means both of them were the carrier of recessive allele, but that NPS is failed to express in the heterozygous condition or hybrid condition. Okay, next. ये क्वेश्चन अब आप खुद से करेंगे. Explain what the chances for a third child of a parent 6 and 7 having NPS. You may use a genetic diagram to help your explanation. How you are going to do this? Just solve it in your journal. 6 and 7. 6 into 7. Now what should I do next? What should I do next? Normal into, what is the phenotype? Normal into normal. So what it would be? Parental phenotype So what is parental phenotype? Normal into normal. Okay. And what would be their genotype? Yes, students. What would be their genotype?
Miss, why did you write 6 into 7?
627 because
दोनों
627
पेरेंट्स
are
है।
the parents. This is the question. Explain what the chances are for a
yes.
third child of parents 6 and 7 having NPS. You may use genetic diagram. That's why we are drawing genetic diagram. It's better to draw genetic diagram
Okay.
rather than explaining it. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Now tell me, what would be the genotype of these parents 6 and 7? Yes. What would be the genotype of both the parents? Hello?
Normal NPS and normal
Normal
NPS.
and normal NPS. Normal NPS is not a phenotype. Normal NPS. NPS means NPS. NPS is a genetic disorder. NPS is a disease. ठीक है. Normal into normal would be a phenotype. Normal तो
Yes.
phenotype है ना आपका. Phenotype क्या होगा? What would
Yes.
be the genotype? What would be the
N into
genotype
N.
of 6 and 7? N
Uh,
into
N
N
into
what?
N.
N into N क्या होता है? What is N into N?
N into NPS फिर.
So what N? Capital N, small n,
No,
hy
small वाला.
hybrid,
Small
capital
वाला.
N,
hy
small n.
hybrid लिखूं या homozygous dominant लिखूं? Should I
Hybrid.
write hybrid?
Capital N, small n.
Hybrid.
Very
छोटा
good.
वाला.
Capital N, small n into capital N, small n. Now, what should be my next step? What should I do next?
उसके बाद
Gametes
gametes बनाते
बनाए.
हैं.
Gametes. Now, gametes. What are the gametes? Tell me.
बड़ा
What
है वाला
happens during
N.
game?
Capital N in
What
a
happens?
circle, small n in a circle, then capital N
Okay,
in a circle and small n in
fine,
a
fine,
circle.
fine. What happened during gamete formation? You have to draw it in the circle. I can't draw it in the circle, but you have to draw it in the circle. Fine. So, what happened during gamete formation? Chromosome, they get segregated during gamete formation. Okay. So now cross. So, what happened during this cross? This capital N.
Capital N, capital N, capital N, small n, capital N, small n, n, small n, small n.
Fine. So what would be the heading for this? Capital N, small n, capital N, small n. What are these
Offspring
things?
genotype.
F1 generation genotype.
Genotype.
F1 generation gen genotype. Okay. Okay. Okay, fine. Capital N, just write it down in your journal. Do it in your journal. Capital N,
Miss
capital
done.
N, capital N, capital N, small n, capital N, small n, and small n, small n. How you are going to get that? Just assume that there is a bracket outside both the gametes. Okay. So what's the heading for this? F1 generation genotype.
Miss, why do we write F1?
F1 मतलब first serial generation, पहली generation के genotype.
Okay.
Now next, बहुत जल्दी ख्याल आया तुम्हें सुधरा. Okay, now what is the genotype? Phenotype. इनका phenotype क्या होगा? What would be their phenotype?
Normal.
F1, 1 minute. F1 generation phenotype would be
Normal.
normal,
Normal, normal,
Normal.
और आखिर में
normal,
NPS.
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 तो
Fine,
इसका
यानी disease.
रेशियो होगा
NPS. So what's the
3
ratio?
to
What's the
1.
phenotypic ratio?
1,
3 normal
1
is to
capital N,
1.
capital N,
Hafsa, why
ratio
you are not
2,
participating, Hafsa? Okay. So what's the phenotypic ratio? Tell me.
1
What's the
capital
phenotypic
N,
ratio?
capital N, 1 capital
Phenotypic
N, capital.
ratio.
अबे यार,
Phenotypic ratio.
अबे
What's
यार.
the phenotypic
1
ratio?
is to 3 is to 1.
3:1. तो 3:1 पे तो नंबर नहीं मिलेंगे. 3 what?
3 normal is
3
to 1.
normal.
3 normal is to 1 NPS. Fine. Now question. So, what are the chances of for a third child of a parent having NPS? बताइए आंसर. What are the chances for a third child of a parent having NPS?
1:4. 1/4.
Okay, 1/4. That means 25%. Can we say that? 1 over
Yes.
4 chances of having NPS. Now, what is the chance of their fourth offspring having NPS?
क्या मिस?
Fourth offspring having NPS. What are the chances of their fourth offspring having NPS? What are the chances of their fourth offspring having NPS?
3/4.
पिटाई देगी तुम्हारी.
अच्छा
Fourth
सॉरी.
offspring having
1/4.
NPS.
पता नहीं.
Again 1/4. Again 25%. It will remain same na. For first child, for second child, for third child, and for fourth child, for 11th child, it will remain same. हमने पढ़ा तो था लास्ट क्लास में बेटे.
अच्छा
ठीक
हाँ.
है. Okay. Now what is the chance of their first child being normal?
3/4.
3/4. What is the chances? Sorry. What are the chances of their third child being normal?
3/4.
3/4 again. Now, what are the chances of their first two children having NPS?
6/8.
Two children having NPS.
9/16.
एक मिनट, एक वक्त में एक अपना माइक ऑन करो प्लीज. 1/4 यार प्लीज एक वक्त में एक ऑन करो. 1/4 into 1/4. That would be 2/16. Just simplify it. 4 4 16.
1/8.
So 1/8. Fine. Clear? So 1/8 first two children की होगी. Clear? समझ में आ गई? Okay. Now next question. Are you done with all these parts of this question number 7? Okay. If you are done, then move on to the next question. What is next question? This is your next question. If there is any problem, is there any problem in this question? Huh?
No.
Okay. Now start solving next question. Look at next question. Okay, this is our next question. Calm down, please. Okay. So this is our next question. Now look at this question and start solving it. Meanwhile, I try to put the whole question.
No, so it's black.
Of course, नजर नहीं आ रहा होगा. तमीज़ कर रहा है सब. Okay. Can you see the question clearly? Now tell
Yes.
me. Figure 5.1 shows a method used by a student to understand how characteristics are inherited when two plant of a species X are crossed. Read out the question by yourself. Okay, clear? Now try, start solving it. Start solving it. Okay, fine. Figure 5.1 shows a method used by students. So what will come in this blank space of the table? Now, what ratio is shown by this table? What genotypic ratio is shown by this table? What genotypic ratio is shown by this table? Okay, what was
Small
the
t
genotype? 1 minute. What was the genotype of both the parents? What was the genotype of both the parents in this question? After looking at this table, what do you think? What was the genotype of both the parents? Huh? Genotype क्या था भाई?
Capital
Capital T
T,
small
small
t.
t.
Yani hybrid. Both the parents were hybrid. Can we say that? Both the parents were hybrid? Huh? Can we say that? Both the parents were hybrid?
Yes.
Okay. So in this case, both the parents were hybrid. Now tell me what will come in this blank space. What student is doing? Student is showing the genetic cross by using the dice. That means that student is using parent as a dice. ठीक है? Parent को वो किससे represent कर रहा है? Dice से represent कर रहा है. ठीक है? And both the cubes had 3 faces. We know that cubes or dice is having 3 faces. ठीक है? On the first 3 faces, he marked it with the letter capital T, and the other 3 faces, he marked them with the letter small t. ठीक है? In this example, the letter appearing on the upper faces are capital T, small t. So what does these letter represent? What do you think? ये letter क्या represent कर रहे हैं on the faces of the cube?
Offspring.
Capital T. Offspring. Offspring represent कर रहे हैं. Single
Genotype.
letter of
Gametes.
gametes. Very good. Gametes भी कह सकते हैं हम. We can say gametes और alleles. ठीक है? Gametes भी represent कर सकते हैं और allele represent कर सकते हैं. ठीक है? So gamete is also correct and allele is also correct. Fine. तो लेटर ऑन दी फेसेस ऑफ द क्यूब, यानी जितनी दफा भी हम रोल डाउन कर रहे हैं डाइस को, तो आपको लेटर्स आ रहे हैं. जो भी लेटर्स आ रहे हैं आपके, कभी कैपिटल टी आ रहा है, कभी स्मॉल टी आ रहा है, देन दैट मीन्स कभी आपका गेमीट हैविंग कैपिटल टी अलील आ रहा है, कभी गेमीट हैविंग स्मॉल टी अलील आ रहा है. समझ में आ गई? दैट मीन्स ये कौन से वाले क्रॉस को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है? हमने 3 क्रॉसेस पढ़े ना कंप्लीट डोमिनेंस के केसेस में. वी आर हैविंग 3 क्रॉसेस. नंबर 1, whenever capital T is crossed with small t or anyone, we will get the phenotypic ratio of all tall and genotypic ratio of all capital T small t. And whenever we crossed 2 hybrid, जब भी हम 2 hybrid parent को cross करते हैं, we will get the phenotypic ratio of 3:1 और genotypic ratio of 1:2:1. तो यहाँ पर कौन सी रेशियो मिल रही है आपको? What do you think? यहाँ पर parent कौन थे आपके पास? What were the parents? 2 hybrids or what?
Hybrid.
Huh? 2 hybrids. ठीक है? So what will come in this place? In this blank?
105.
Tell me, yeah. 105. 105. Now how you reach the answer?
प्लस करके माइनस कर देंगे 4 और
Very
4 और
good. We will
5
add 202 with 98 and minus it from 4. Okay. Stop.
Yes, कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है.
Anisha, turn off your mic, please. We will add 202 with 98 and subtract it from 405 times, क्योंकि इस बच्चे ने 405 टाइम आप रोल किए थे डाइस को. दोनों डाइस को 405 टाइम किया था. 1 टाइम किया तो 98 आया, फिर किया तो 98 आया, समटाइम्स 202 आया. ये क्या रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं? कभी 202 आया, कभी 98 आया, कभी 202 आया, कभी 98. ये किसको रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं? स्मॉल टी कैपिटल टी स्मॉल टी कैपिटल टी ऑल टुगेदर. ये किसको रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं? किसको रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं? ऑफस्प्रिंग्स को. ठीक है? तभी आपका ऑफस्प्रिंग स्मॉल आ रहा है, कभी आपका ऑफस्प्रिंग कैसा आ रहा है, ये वाला आ रहा है, कभी ये आ रहा है, ठीक है। तो हाउ वी कैन गेट कैपिटल T बाय एडिंग 202 with 98 and subtracting it from 405, you could reach the answer which is 105. Okay, now state what the letter on the faces of cube represent. एक क्यूब पे जो लेटर आता है वो किसको represent करता है?
एलीन या
एलीन को
गेमीन।
represent करता है या गैमीट को represent करता है, ठीक है। और अगर हम दोनों क्यूब्स की एक साथ बात करें तो वो किसको represent करता है? ऑफस्प्रिंग को represent करता है ना। कैपिटल टी स्मॉल टी वाला जीनोटाइप है ऑफस्प्रिंग का, ठीक है। नाउ स्टेट द रीजन फॉर शेकिंग द कंटेनर। क्यों शेक कर रहे हैं कंटेनर को? व्हाई वी आर शेकिंग द कंटेनर?
टू गेट रैंडम रिजल्ट्स।
बाकी स्टूडेंट्स, रेस्ट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स, यस सिद्रा, व्हाई द स्टूडेंट इज शेकिंग द कंटेनर each time? Why the student is shaking the container before tipping it?
To get random results.
Very good, to get random results. ठीक है। Now next part. इसी का next part. In living plant of species X, item capital T and small t control flower color. उसने alleles बता दिया आपको. Now the genetic diagram below shows a sequence of crosses V and W between plant of species X, some with red flowers and some with yellow flowers. So in this diagram, the examiner, it shows two different crosses, cross V and cross W. In cross V, when the red and yellow colored flowers they cross together, then they produce all red flowers. ठीक है। Whereas in cross W, when red and red flower they cross together, they produce both red flower and yellow flower. ठीक है। Using the information in table 5.1, what was table 5.1? The same table that you have completed अभी, ठीक है, 99 is to जो भी था वो, okay, and crosses V and W. State which color is dominant and which of cross V and cross W could produce the result seen in table 5.1. बताइए, which color is dominant?
रेड।
Red.
Red was dominant. And which of the crosses V or cross W could produce the result seen in table 5.1? Table 5.1 ये है. This is table 5.1. Which of the crosses V या W में से कौन सा क्रॉस ये वाला टेबल का रिजल्ट शो कर सकता है? Which of the crosses, क्रॉस V और क्रॉस
बस
W?
क्रॉस दिखाइएगा.
क्या दिखाइएगा?
Crosses दिखाइएगा. V and W.
These are the crosses. Which of the crosses V or W show the result shown in table?
W.
Cross W. Now give your answer. Explain your answer. Why W?
Because over here both the parents are hybrid.
Why you said W?
Because the offspring of these parents, they consist of yellow flowers too, which shows that the parents are hybrid.
Very good. Because both red and yellow flowers are present in this generation, and this table 5.1 is also showing the genotypic ratio of 1:2:1, and whenever the hybrid is crossed, two hybrid will cross, then we will get the genotypic ratio of 1:2:1. And whereas when as far as cross V is concerned, cross V is showing only red flowers, no yellow flower is showing in cross V. Fine, समझ में आ गई? ठीक है। Now next, in the method shown in figure 5.1, this figure 5.1, the student put capital T on three faces and small t on the other three faces of each cube, so that cube 1 has capital T, ये 3 capital T and 3 small t, and cube 2 had 3 capital T, 3 small t. Now there is another cross, वो cross मैं आपको बता रही हूँ, आप सुनिए फिर मुझे बताइए. There is another cross in which the that child is crossing a hybrid with homozygous recessive. How you are going to show this cross on the cube?
What, miss?
there is another cross, and what is that cross? मैं cross बता देती हूँ आपको. Cross B और W तो हो गया. There is another cross, and what is that cross? When the red and yellow flower they cross together, they produce both red and yellow flower. So how you are going to represent this cross in the form of cube?
मिस
Tell me.
एक क्यूब में all red
First tell
और
me. Sidra, 1 minute. Please turn off your mic. Please turn off your mic. So what are the parents? Red and yellow, and they produce both the red and yellow colored flowers. Okay? Now, what would be the genotype of red and yellow flower? At first tell me. What would be the genotype of red and yellow flower?
RR and YY.
कैपिटल टी एंड स्मॉल टी. नहीं मतलब रेड के पास कैपिटल, हाँ दोनों के पास कैपिटल टी और स्मॉल टी होंगे.
Fine. Red would be hybrid and yellow would be red would be hybrid and yellow would be, in this case yellow would be,
Hybrid too.
what is yellow? Sidra, are you okay? Yellow is a recessive trait or a dominant trait?
Recessive.
Then what
स्मॉल
would be
टी
the
स्मॉल टी
genotype of small t?
स्मॉल टी स्मॉल.
Sidra, is this clear to you, Sidra?
Yes.
Of course, if yellow is a recessive trait, then we know that recessive is able to express itself only in homozygous recessive condition.
ये आपने कहा था ना कि दूसरा क्रॉस है, तो मैं वो सब कुछ भूल गई थी.
दूसरा क्रॉस है, नहीं दूसरा क्रॉस है तो क्या हुआ बेटा, लेकिन इसी कंटिन्यूएशन में है ना. फिर मैं आपको बताती ना कि which one is dominant and which one is recessive. ठीक है, in the continuation of the same question. Fine. So now tell me, what would be the genotype? The genotype for the red flower would be capital T, small t, and that is hybrid. And genotype for the yellow flower would be small t, that is homozygous recessive. Now, how you are going to show it on the faces of the cube? Cube 1. Cube 1 capital T, small t को represent करेगा और cube 2 is representing small t. So how you are going to show it on the faces of the cube? Tell me.
मिस एक क्यूब के दो
मिस हो जैसे एक और क्यूब लाके रख देंगे.
Huh? Cube is having 6 faces now. Now tell me, how you are going to represent hybrid on the faces of the cube? Talha?
half capital T, half small.
Fine. Half capital T means how many capital T?
3 capital T, 3 small t.
Very good. On the faces of the cube 1, we will write down, on 3 faces we will write capital T, and whereas on 3 faces we will write small t, that is 3 capital T and 3 small t. And what about cube 2? What
क्या
about
मुझे
cube
समझ
2?
नहीं आ रही.
बेटा आप इस पूरे जो आपका ये जो क्रॉस है, विच इज कैपिटल टी स्मॉल टी इंटू स्मॉल टी, आप उसको क्यूब की फॉर्म में रिप्रेजेंट करें, जैसे इस बच्चे ने रिप्रेजेंट किया. ठीक है, इस बच्चे ने भी तो यही काम किया ना. इसने इन प्रोसेस को किस फॉर्म में रिप्रेजेंट किया? क्यूब की फॉर्म में रिप्रेजेंट किया. वो हर दफा ऑफस्प्रिंग कैसे प्रोड्यूस करवाता है? बाय टिपिंग दैट दोज क्यूब्स. वो हमेशा जब वो टिप करता है क्यूब को, तो उसको पता चलता है ये वाला ऑफस्प्रिंग होने वाला है. ठीक है, दोनों क्यूब को एक साथ टिप करता है तो उसको पता चलता है ये वाला ऑफस्प्रिंग होने वाला है. समझ में आ गई वाली बात? ठीक है, आप भी सेम एक्सरसाइज कर रहे हैं. एंड हाउ यू आर गोइंग टू डू इट? यू आर गोइंग टू रिप्रेजेंट द पेरेंट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ क्यूब. ठीक है, और पेरेंट आपके पास कौन है? एक वन पेरेंट इज हाइब्रिड एंड अनदर पेरेंट इज होमोजाइगस रिसेसिव. ठीक है, तो इन ऑर्डर टू हैव अ अनबायस्ड रिजल्ट, आप हाइब्रिड को कैसे शो करेंगे ऑन द क्यूब? हाउ यू आर गोइंग टू शो हाइब्रिड पेरेंट ऑन द क्यूब? क्यूब के 6 फेसेस होते हैं. हाउ यू आर गोइंग टू शो इट?
3 कैपिटल टी, 3 स्मॉल टी.
परफेक्ट. ताकि अनबायस्ड, तो हम ये नहीं करेंगे कि 4 कैपिटल टी कर दें और 2 स्मॉल टी कर दें, देन दैट वुड बी अ बायस्ड रिजल्ट. कैपिटल टी के चांसेस बढ़ जाएंगे, स्मॉल टी के चांसेस कम हो जाएंगे. ठीक है, हाइब्रिड में देयर आर इक्वल नंबर ऑफ चांसेस ऑफ हैविंग कैपिटल टी एलील और हैविंग स्मॉल टी एलील. दैट्स व्हाई वी विल पुट कैपिटल टी ऑन द 3 फेसेस of the cube and small t on another 3 faces of the cube. Clear? Now, how you are going to show the homozygous recessive parent? Homozygous
All
recessive
small
parent.
t.
Perfect. Clear? समझ में आ गई? Clear?
Yes.
Okay, just write it down in your journal and tell me how much time is left. How much time is left?
टाइम अप 8 मिनट ऊपर हो गया.
8